as I say, it planted a further seed into my head to say, you can't do this anymore. How you've lasted this long, I have no idea. And I used to think that. But I decided to confront the leaders of this gang. I decided to confront them and say, right, I want out. I can't do it anymore. My mum's got cancer. It's terminal. Do you know what? It's not in me anymore. And they said, you don't walk away from this. I said, well, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to turn around now and I'm going to walk off. I'm going to get in the car. I don't want to ever see any of you again. I'm going. I'd no sooner got out the gate than I fell to the floor. And I was beaten badly with baseball bats, quite badly. I struggled to walk to the car, but I got to the car and I drove to my girlfriend's house, who's now my wife. And it didn't really end there, to be honest, it never does. But I decided I had walked away. I wanted out. Wherever I moved after that, you'd come home one day or you'd open the curtain and there'd be a strange car outside and you'd just see over the top of the window these eyes. And you think, okay, you know where I live. So what? That's fine. I can deal with this. So I did get out, but it came at that price where even now I suffer with some of the injuries, but I'm out of it. Now in 1999, my mum finally passed away with cancer. And that was time to grow up. I'd managed to get out of the gang stuff. I'd walked out of that. I was still dabbling with occult matters. And I decided it was time to put that to bed because we wanted to get married. I thought, you know, adults get married, not children, really. I need to grow up. I need to get a normal job. I need to do what normal people do. So that's what I did. Decided to sell all the artifacts and the occult stuff I'd got. We got married in 2002. Still together. For 20 years we've been together. And it's been wonderful. It's blessed me with 4 marvelous children. But 2005, our first child was born. Where we were living at the time, the nearest play group, if you will, was in a church. And my wife used to take him. And then it come to that inevitable time where she was at work. And guess who was asked to take him? Me. I was unsure about going to this church after everything I'd been through, everything I'd done. However, it was nice. Of course, it was run by ladies. And these ladies, because I was the only male in there, they couldn't help but make a fuss of me, asking me all sorts of questions. And, you know, I never once had to get up to go to the counter to get a coffee. They used to bring it me. It was nice. And after a few months, that question, I'd say that question was inevitably going to come. Have you ever thought of coming to church? Well, I've not. I used to go to church, nowhere to walk round here. But after a while, my wife decided, let's go to this church. Let's see what's what. And I got to be honest, it's not what I remembered church. It was a wonderful Pentecostal church in Bolton. And it had you know, when I walked into this church, I was expecting what I was used to. But I walked in, it was just like a big auditorium. I mean, I lovingly phrase it as it was like going to a gig. There was a band on stage, all the instruments. I could see all the instruments, and what I now know was worship was marvelous. It was absolutely wonderful. You know, the music, the singing, it was good. It was like going to a gig. You know, the quality was brilliant. However, the preach, I had no idea what he was talking about. Ultimately, what happened? I ended up going to a smaller church because I found it a bit too big for me. I was asked if I'd like to attend an FGB dinner meeting in Bolton with the wonderful, God bless him, Jim Priest. And I wasn't sure. And then they said, free food. Well, you've got me. I'm going.
He's coming. Jesus is coming. I can't wait to hear the trumpet call. He's coming. Jesus is coming. And when he comes, we'll crown him Lord of all. And when he comes, we'll crown him Lord of all.
So we ended up with this FGB meeting, had free food, heard a testimony. I think the first testimony I ever heard was Des Pilling. And then it came the month after, would you like to come again? I said, yeah, do you know what? I'll go again. Why not? It gets me out of the house. So I went again. And after about maybe 3 or 4 meetings, there was a guy speaking called Charlie Hale. You now know as Charles Hanson. And do you know that prayer comes at the end? There's always the prayer of salvation. Now, I'd said that a few times. Didn't really mean anything. But for some reason that night, something was different. Charlie gave the prayer of salvation. So I did that prayer again. And then he said, has anybody said that prayer for the first time, second time, third time? Put your hand up. No one's looking. And I put my hand up. And I thought, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, I put my hand up. And I'd have to say it was a supernatural lift. I didn't really want to, but my arm went up. So I went to the front and Charlie prayed with me. I was introduced to a few more people. Charlie's still a good friend to this day. But you know, here's where the challenges start. At this moment in time, my wife was pregnant with what would have been our third child at this stage. 2011, the 6th of April, 2011. Never forget the day. That was the day I changed for good. I wanted to get home quickly and tell my wife I've become a Christian. I've become a believer of Jesus, a follower of Jesus. I'm pretty aware she'd have probably said, have you gone mad? But anyway, she was asleep by the time I got home, so I left it. But I'll tell her in the morning. So getting ready for bed, get into bed, I think, this isn't right. Feels damp. And what had happened, and bear in mind, 3 hours previous to this, I'd given myself to Jesus. 3 hours. What had happened in her sleep? She'd had a miscarriage. Quite messy, as you can imagine. No point going into details. So I woke her up, phoned for an ambulance, phoned up her sister to come and have the other 2 children. And I said, Lord, what are you doing? I've just given myself to you. I want this relationship thing But why have you allowed this to happen? Because bear in mind, I'd been going to church, I'd heard sermons, but I've never made that commitment. So I had a bit of knowledge from what was being said. But I was asking questions now. How have you allowed this? And it took me a while to work things out. But, you know, there's two things you can do at this point is walk away and say, not for me, sorry. Or you have to consider, and this is where, when Charlie prayed, there was instant knowledge. There was this, I was thinking different. I was talking different. I know this. People have said it. But what did I do? I'm home. My wife's just had this miscarriage. She's on her way to hospital. I'm waiting for her sister to come because we've got the other two children. And I'm sat in the living room talking to the Lord. Never done that before, really. Not to this degree. But asking questions. But I'd had a relationship with the devil as well before. And I'd never really cut that off. So people can have all sorts of reasonings why that would happen. But I'm finished with that now. And have been for, obviously, before this incident happened. Ultimately, she came home. It was hurtful. It was very hurtful. It took us both a while to get over it. It took me a week to tell her that I'd now become a believer because she was in hospital. When I did tell her, I was right. She thought I'd gone mad. But she saw changes. She saw changes. I'll jump forward a bit for time. We had another little boy. After this, we decided, we'd try again. And we did. Now, at this point, I'd become the president of the Bolton chapter of the FGB. I was well established in church. Things were going good. I was learning. I was getting into the scriptures. I was reading every day. Things were good. My life was brilliant at this point. We had our third little boy, Jacob. And when he was born, the nurse, the midwife, gave him this little bundle of fun. But he was foaming from his mouth. And I shouted to one of the nurses, I said, is this normal? I've got two and I've never seen this before. She quickly took him, put him in this I don't know what you call them, the crib things, rushed outside.
He's coming. Jesus is
Life Stories.
And 10 minutes had passed, and I'm like, what's going on? Where's my little boy? And I asked to see him, and they wouldn't let me. And then I started getting a little bit agitated, shall we say. And I said to this guy came in, and I said, listen, can you tell me what's going on? He said, I don't know, I've nothing to tell you yet. I says, well, listen, this is how it is, okay? I'm a follower and a believer of Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian. And I'm going to say things ain't looking good, my friend. And if this is the case, I need to go and pray for my son. And he said, I'll see what I can do. So they came back and I was allowed to go. Now, I was greeted with this little bundle with wires and all sorts of things, just wires and all sorts of things sticking out of him. Wasn't an easy image. But I just prayed. I mean, that's what we do. Just prayed. And then when I'd finished praying for him, my wife was still out of it. I made a few phone calls, and I believe that prayer chain just went on and on and on. Now, what came back was what had happened as he was born. He'd had a number 2 in mummy, and the cord had snapped. So, of course, there's no breath. And as he took his first breath, which would have been a very deep breath, he swallowed parts of the cord, everything that's in it, and his own poo, which is not a nice mix by any means. And they said, basically, his lungs are full with this stuff. He's not breathing very well. And these words you never want to hear. I think you need to prepare for the worst. We're sorry, we're doing all we can. And my instant thought was, no, I'm not having this. No, not on my watch. This is not happening. Not happening at all. And immediately, I was just praying. In my head, I was just praying. God, you're in control of this. I can't do this. And again, the phone calls, let people know, get the prayer chain going, get it going. And you know, this is the wonderful thing. And you know, I'm not because I've got to be careful when I say this. He was born on Good Friday. By Easter Monday, would you believe they'd managed to take all the wires away? They took everything away. All he had was oxygen at that point. Within a week, he was breathing on his own. Within 2 weeks, he was home. Now, I'll never forget speaking to the consultant, and he said these words. I'll never forget them. He said, "I can't explain how your son's alive." And I said, "Well, I can." He said, "Yes." He says, I believe you're a Christian. And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, medically, I can't explain this." He said, I understand what you believe, and that's fine. He said, "However, I'm a medical man." And I said, "Well, listen, Jesus saved my son. There's no other way." And he's 9 now. And he doesn't have any breathing difficulties. After everything what was said, he's a wonderful young boy. We were told not to have any more children. The Lord told me he was going to bless me with a little girl. You've seen her. She was here at the beginning. We were told your wife cannot have any more children. She's had severe miscarriages. The Lord says we're having a girl. We're getting a girl. We got our little girl. The Lord's never stopped blessing me since I made that decision. I now run a radio station, Lancashire's Lighthouse Radio, which the Lord blessed me with. When he gave me the instructions to do that, I had no idea. But if the Lord says it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And that is a very, all glory to the Lord, nothing to do with me. I'm merely a puppet. That's now global. Our company, we run it through 195 countries. And I think that the as we approach the end for me, and there's loads, I could go on for hours, but I think what I believe my testimony presents to people who don't know Jesus is that you might think you're not good enough, or I've done things. Well, do you know what? It doesn't matter. It really does not matter. The Lord knows what you've done. You can't hide them. And I know it can sound difficult, but that is the truth. He knew everything I'd done. I recall trying to take my own life when I wanted to get out of the gangs.
He's coming. Jesus is coming. I can't wait to hear the trumpet call. He's coming. Jesus is coming. And when he comes, we'll crown him Lord